girls with their nails done now.
This episode of HTM Tech is brought to you by Rogue Energy. Rogue Energy offers a wide range of products including energy drinks and dietary supplements containing zero sugar, 0 to 5 calories, B vitamins, gluten-free, soy-free, and 100% vegan. Rogue Energy products are a great alternative to those corner store energy drinks that are loaded with sugar and cause you to crash soon after. Head over to rogueenergy.com where viewers of HTM Tech can get 10% off any order placed. Not just your first order, but any time you order. Just use offer code HTM Tech at the checkout to get your discount on one of the hottest energy drink brands on the market. Hey, don't take our word for it. Try it for yourself today.
All right, guys, Joe the Tech Guy back here for another episode of HTM Tech. So I have a very good friend of mine. If you've been looking in the episode descriptions, you will notice that I have been giving a shout out to a certain show that I'm very fond of. And we are talking about the SMB Suck My Balls South Park Cast review show. And I have the main guy from that show on here today. I have Mr. Matthew Shaffer-Gage on to talk some technology talk. Welcome to HTM Tech, sir. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Thanks for having me. I appreciate your invite to talk a little different topics that, at least I'm somewhat aware of. I don't know if I could call myself an expert, but I definitely have some sort of knowledge on, expert analysis on maybe one of the topics, or at least I found myself to be an expert of it.
We'll get to that first one right off the hop here. And we are talking about, it's been interesting with this one because I think it's been a somewhat polarizing reception from the not only gaming fans, but the South Park fans so far here. And we're talking about South Park Snow Day. This is the latest South Park game. Now, the previous two games, Stick of Truth and The Fractured Butthole, absolutely fantastic. I love both of those games. They very much kind of changed from that first game to the second game. We talked about this in a previous episode of HTM Tech, which I got to dig up and put out at some point. The first game, Stick of Truth, very much like a streamlined kind of experience. And then for Fractured Butthole, they went a little bit bigger, changed the approach to the combat in a little bit, which I enjoy, but kind of felt a little bit I felt that the first game was a bit of a tighter experience. Both were fantastic. But now we're talking South Park Snow Day, and we're not with Ubisoft anymore with this game. THQ Nordic is pretty out in developing this game, and they are going for a multiplayer approach. To the best of my knowledge from the research that I've done, no single player experience. This is strictly an online multiplayer game. This is a big shift away from what they have, what South Park games have been up to this point.
We don't. Has it specifically been said it's only online? I didn't catch that.
From what I've seen, this is strictly online multiplayer only, no single player.
Because from what I had was it's an all new 3D co-op game. Experience co-op play for the first time ever in South Park with up to 3 friends or ally bots. So I'm wondering if there's an online and an offline mode. Like if there is going to be some sort of, even if it's minimal, some sort of story mode. If you don't play online, right? Because some people aren't going to play online, so they can't just ostracize all of the fans, right? So but there might be some sort of minimal, basic storyline. Because from what we've seen from the trailers, it looks like some sort of cross between, I don't know, like SOCOM and like Call of Duty and Gears of Wars, but mixed in with Fortnite, mixed in with South Park's magic of Lord of the Rings love, if you will, right?
Yeah,
so that's what it kind of reminds me of, especially with like the co-op style where you can direct your party and team to do other things. That definitely takes me back to like those SOCOM days when you were a kid, like on the PlayStation 2, right?
For sure. Yeah.
Graphically speaking, it's interesting. Before we started this podcast, I had told you, I don't know if I'm interested in this I don't know if I'm interested in this game. I don't know if I would buy this game. But while we were sitting here starting up the podcast, you can pre-order this game for $30. So it's only a $30 game. So that does kind of change my perception a little bit on the game. Yep. If it was a full $60, $70 or something like that, for that, I might be like, come on. But $30, I might be willing to check it out for that price. And now you could call me cheap or whatever, but I'm paying for the value of the content in which you're delivering, and I want a full style game if I'm going to pay $70 for it.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, like, especially then if we wanted to, because you're in the States, I'm in Canada. A lot of AAA top tier games um, here in Canada go for $90, right? 89.99 is the price point for
That's
your
crazy.
big upper tier games like your Spider-Mans and all that kind of stuff, right? Those are $90 up here, north of the border. So, um, yes, that would mean that would probably be in the $40 to $50 price range here in Canada for that. And that also tells me that that's what I'm speculating to could very well be the case that it's just a multiplayer only game. But like for me, like I would be disappointed because I like to play through stories. And then South Park is all about the story, all about the characters, all about the kids
That's the
doing
whole
what
point
they
of the
do,
show.
right?
Yeah.
So you then become resorted to. I mean, it's an element that works because like the Friday the 13th game, stuff like that. Those can be fun if you play with the people that kind of get into character and kind of really kind of live out what they're playing. So there's potential for coolness with that, but I think that if there's not at least some kind of story that they're telling there, I'm a little torn.
So the reason why I would hope that would lead me to believe that there's going to be some sort of offline story mode, right? Is if we pair it back to what we know about Matt Stone and Trey Parker. At least I do, by the way. Linktree.com/, South Park Pod. Hit me up.
Yep.
You want to get your South Park fix. But, or I guess it'd just be linktr.ee/.
I'll,
Sorry,
I'll
there's
I'll
no
post a link
.com.
in the comments for the folks as
Post
well.
it in there. Anyway,
Yep.
that being said, if we know about the lore of South Park in regards to them tying back to offline or storyline content. They did do a whole arc about wanting to bring the family back into the living room for the, Merry Christmas special, go fuck yourself, Cartman extravaganza, right? So
Yep.
like there could be, and if it is a snow day and everybody's at quote unquote at home, there could be some sort of offline mode to try and get more people to hang out in one room on one screen and play, right? Locally, to try and bring back that feeling of having fun with your friends. That's what I'm holding out for. But you are right. I mean, with a $30 price tag, it might specifically be only online at this point, which I might be then required to go online and play with somebody.
Well, luckily we have a pretty large group of us here that are into South Park, so I think we could have some fun with that. We would just have to, this ties very much back in the show. We would have to agree on a console to play it on because if you're not playing on PlayStation, you suck.
Well, I mean, the only thing is I would buy a PlayStation. I just don't. I don't want to spend $500 right now. Again, cheap guy. So I will wait. What I'm excited about, and this will tie into our next topic here when we get there. But since we're talking about it now, I'm excited for when the Nintendo Switch, this version dies, and I can go out and buy a shitload of video games for cheap because there are so many games on the Nintendo Switch that I want now, but I'm not paying $60. Now, don't get me wrong. I
Yeah.
almost did pick up Tears of the Kingdom because I did find a weird Black Friday sale with them here in the States. For those who were unaware, there was offering like $30 off at Staples. So you could have gotten it for $40 this last weekend.
So yeah, that brings up a nice point, and this will tie nicely into kind of our main topic here for this episode here. You had mentioned something with pricings of games. Now with Nintendo, they are very unique. I'm gonna bring my microphone a little closer to my face so you guys can hear me on this one. And Nintendo is very unique in the games industry because if you're somebody who plays games, especially on the Xbox and the PlayStation, you'll notice that a lot of even AAA games when they come out they get patched like crazy throughout the span of their existence. A lot of times when you buy a game, the first day, a lot of times there's even a patch. And dude, like and that console thrived right at the right moment, like during the pandemic with a lot of people at home. A lot of those games on the Switch very much catered to like Animal Crossing was the big one, right? That game
Yep.
sold like fucking
I got that
crazy
game for free.
because
Yeah, it's a gift.
that game hit at the right moment, and so like when you look at the numbers, like the Switch is the third best selling console of all time now. I
And
ne when that console came out, I never would have predicted that happened because there's some heavy hitters at the top. You have the original Nintendo, you get the PlayStation 2, that sold like ridiculous amounts. But this system, because you can literally play it however you want, you can play it on your TV at home, you can play it just propped up on the kitchen table or something if you want. You can play it handheld on the go. There's never been a system that has allowed you to play it however you want it ever. And and then you combine that with the killer games that are available just on that system, you have a winning combination. And that's why they have outsold Sony and Microsoft combined in this generation.
well, specifically, even coming off of the failure of the Wii quote unquote U, whatever, that console itself, the Wii U. I don't think anybody would have predicted that the Nintendo Switch would have gotten this rapidly popular with multiple age demographics
Right.
and different generations. As you spoke there, the portability, the at ease to take it anywhere you want.
Right.
To be able to just come home and continue that. I think every kid dreamed about that when we were going, man,
Right.
it'd be so cool if I could play Pokemon on the big screen. Well, now you can actually play Pokemon on the big screen if you want to. Now you can start your game in handheld mode and continue it in once you get in the house, or vice versa on the
Vice
go.
versa, yeah.
And most of the Nintendo games, because of the size of the files and how the UI is set up, they've had that like instant launch response locked down for so long that you can power the Nintendo off, come back to it days later, a week later, and as long as that Nintendo's on, you'll be like, oh yeah, it was in the middle of this game. What the hell? Like, there's so many times I've done that where I'm just been like, what was I doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, I was playing this game. That's right. I did that this last week with Super Mario Wonder. I was like, oh, that's still on? Cool. And you just start right from where you're at. So Nintendo has definitely locked down their own system, their own recognizable brand, and they definitely know how to market themselves. Now, I mean, I won't argue with you that first party games itself may not come down in price as much. I'm not expecting to go get Super Mario Odyssey for like $10 next year, but I would like I'll be able to get it for 20 to 30. So that'll be nice. So like that's my point, is those game prices will get down to a point so that'll be more affordable for me in that case. And then, any of those third party titles that have come out, from different companies, those will just be dirt cheap, because if you walk into any game store here, at least in the United States, I can tell you so many different consoles right now. There's a couple places out here. You just walk in there and you can find games for $5-10 easily. And they were big, huge titles that made millions and millions of dollars on the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, the PlayStation 4. So I don't know how it works in Canada, but here in the United States, you can get games pretty cheap because technology here, with everyone's mindset of go, like everyone's just trying to make a quick buck. But what is expensive is you're talking about like retro video games are hella expensive, like especially because of the pandemic spike. Because like I go out and try to get like an awesome Dreamcast or Saturn game. Yeah, I'm spending $70-80.
And it's starting to get to that point right now, especially if you're a collector of PS3 and 360, which you had hinted at there. Perfect time if you're a collector, if you want to complete a collection. Now you can get those games for real cheap right now, but that's getting close to retro in its own way, and those prices will start rising on those as they become kind of classified as retro. So if you're a collector of PS3 and 360 games, go out now and get some while you still can, because the physical stuff, I mean, we'll get into that a little bit too, but we are getting close to the end of the life cycle for the Switch, because you take a look at games like Red Dead Redemption that they ported over to, Hogwarts Legacy. Finally. That one there especially, they came close to canceling that because they were having a hard time porting it over, because as great as the Nintendo Switch is, the hardware, the chipset and everything is aging, and it is getting to the point where something new's got to come out. Right. So that kind of brings us to what we're talking about here. What is Nintendo's next system going to be? And I'm not talking like a little refresh or, adding a little kind of feature. We're talking like brand new consoles, because I mean, the heavily talked about rumor right now is that the first quarter of next year, Nintendo's going to put out their next generation of console. And that's what we're here to speculate about. What is it going to be? Now, you're the guest on here this week. I'm going to let you go first. What do you think Nintendo's next full-on system is going to be?
So first off, I know that's the speculation. I just don't think that system's coming out in the first quarter of next year. I am more lean to the second quarter. I think it'll be somewhere around the summer when that console comes out. That way it ramps it up for the holidays. So you'd have you're giving developers enough time to push out test things out, port it to the new system. Not saying they won't announce it in the first quarter, but I just don't think it's coming out until that second quarter.
That's a potential too.
As far as what do I think? I mean, it's really hard to say, because you want to make two different arguments. You want to make one argument, don't fuck up a good thing. So why would you mess up something that's already sold you hundreds of millions of units? It's like when we talk about Apple versus Samsung all the time, or Apple versus Android. I know you're a Mac guy like I am. The one thing about Mac is they don't have to give you the craziest new special effects and new features every new generation, because they're testing things out to make sure it works well with the system and there's no flaws, right? So why mess up a good thing? Like, why would you mess up? And I apologize for cursing. Why mess up a good thing when you have the Nintendo Switch? It's already operating. So I want to make the argument maybe we see a little bit bigger of a screen. We get that Joy-Con drift fix, maybe some sort of different type of pads, maybe circular or something to make it more comfortable. I don't know.
Yeah.
Go wacky with it. So there's more comfort and grip in the handheld mode, right? And
Yeah.
you update the chip inside so that way it can upscale to 4K if it needs to for specific games. Make the memory and the RAM bigger so that way it can operate those games. That would be the first argument. Now the second argument is, man, wouldn't it be cool like if you did something just wacky with it? If you
As
just
Nintendo has been known to do.
right. So what if you gave it the ability to, I don't know, what if you gave it a dual screen? What if we did a dual screen Switch where you can fold down? I've seen pictures of like that too, right? I was like, well, that's kind of cool. Where you have a top screen and a bottom screen, and it gives you the ability to play DS games, which is another opportunity for Nintendo to go back into the library online and sell that back to you again and make more money. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of from a business sense, how can we capitalize on all those old games that we have in our library already as well to resell, because the 3DS dying and basically ending the quote unquote portable sector of Nintendo's business and now being combined into one.
Yeah.
There's a want and desire to play those Nintendo 3DS games. I've seen that from people. There's going to be a want and desire, like every generation. I mean, I still want more Nintendo 64 games, right? I want more Nintendo GameCube games on the NSO. So as people continue to age, there's going to be more people that want those games on the 3DS. So if I'm Nintendo, how can I capitalize on that? How can we make more money off the Nintendo Switch Online service if that's maybe what our focal point is going forward?
Yeah, there's a lot at play too because recently, Apple has kind of inserted them. I mean, they've already kind of been in there, but especially with the new iPhone 15 Pro phones, with the chipset and what hardware wise those are capable of, they're able to play games natively. So like Resident Evil, Assassin's Creed. Like I'm not
Mirage, I
talking
saw that.
I'm
Yeah.
not talking like streaming off of a server. You can install a full console type of game on a phone and play it on the phone. It's absolutely insane. Nintendo is definitely, with the last keynote, which Jargo and I covered, they're definitely making a push into the games industry. So that's going to be a factor as well. And then you also have the added thing too, with Microsoft, because they've been doing some wacky stuff, especially Phil Spencer, the guy and head of the gaming stuff there, has said that Microsoft wants to buy Nintendo. And then, and then in the next interview
Which will
he
never
does,
happen.
and then the next interview he does, he's like, in 2 years, if Game Pass hasn't taken off, we're going to get out of gaming. That guy is like all over the map when it comes to talking about kind of stuff. I would rather Nintendo stay their own thing because I've always said, not just in
Nintendo's never
gaming.
going to sell. They're never going to
Right.
sell it like that. There's
Right.
no reason
Yeah.
to. They're coming off now their biggest console they've ever sold. They're
Right.
they're profitable in so many different ways. The
Yep.
Mario movie just came out this year. It
Right.
made them
It'd be,
hundreds of millions of dollars.
it would be crazy, right?
This guy is snorting some good candy.
Yeah, because I mean, the big reason why I don't like that, and not just in gaming, but like in technology and professional wrestling and movies and that kind of stuff, having competition is good because that just results in other companies pushing each other to do better, and the gamers and the fans are the ones who win along with those companies that put out those things. So I think having that strong third competitor in there is very, very important in the games industry, because the other factor I play here too with this console I'm going to be really looking into, because what I'm going to predict is that with this, and then when Sony comes out with their next thing, when Microsoft comes out with this next thing, dude, I think we're going to be saying goodbye to the physical media.
Yeah,
right? Because Microsoft's made the biggest push into this with Xbox Game Pass, which is fantastic. But for somebody, for people like us who've been around for kind of a while, we like to collect. We like to have the physical thing in our hand. And I've gone back and forth a lot on this over the years. And for somebody, especially with Apple devices, it's really, really convenient with digital media because I can watch my stuff, play my games on whatever I want now.
right.
Whether I'm on my Mac, whether I'm on my phone, iPad, whatever, I have access to all my stuff. I'm still a collector at heart, but damn, that convenience of being able to use it however you want, whenever you want, is really, really appealing. And so I'm going to be looking at that as well, because I have a feeling that all three companies this coming generation all digital because there's some other factors at play too, right? Best if you pay attention to the tech news, like I try to, Best Buy, as of the end of
Right.
2023, no longer carrying physical media in their
And
stores.
Walmart is supposed to be speculatively taking out their Xbox section as well.
Correct, right? So it's going to be interesting. That I think is going to be a big factor. Personally, what I think, um, and I'm inclined to believe with you, I don't think that the form factor itself is going to change that much on the Switch. It's a tough thing to speculate because Nintendo is very unique in the industry with this respect as well, as they don't tend to follow what everybody else is doing. They like to kind of march to the beat of their own drum. So it's tough to speculate what they're going to do. But I think with the Switch becoming the third best selling console of all time, I don't see them messing with the formula too much.
So, I mean, we talk about, I mean, that just, you got my mind thinking here.
Uh,
Just a
Good.
couple,
That's the goal.
a couple things here. So first off, I agree with you on the regards to physical,
Yeah,
dying. Like I envision
it
myself
is.
the next system, this generation, if you will, that being the PlayStation 5. I'm
Yeah.
eventually going to get the PS5 and the next Nintendo. I envision those are probably going to be my last two consoles that I ever buy. That will be the end of my gaming generation
Yeah.
because I am not going to buy games digitally
Yep.
unless it's a retro game where I know it's complete and it's offline because I do not participate in the fact of having to purchase my game and then now I have to authenticate my license for a game that I've already purchased through your online server.
Because
To me, that's bull crap.
that brings up a very good point.
I
If
don't
you're
own it because then I don't own the game. You own it. At any point in time, you could say, no, your license is taken away, or sorry, we decided we're not letting people play this anymore.
brings up a very good point. If you're ever here, I'll put this out there. So to you, or the viewers here, if you're ever at home, say on a sick day and you're bored, go and buy a digital game and actually read the agreement that you're supposed to agree to.
Read the terms and conditions.
Don't be like Kyle. Make sure you read what
I won't
you're actually
read.
agreeing to, because how do you know what you're agreeing to if you don't read it, right? So you hit the nail on the head there, because a digital game, what you get is essentially, what's the easiest way I can kind of term this? You're essentially considered a long-term rental. It's essentially what it is. You purchase a license to use the game. That license can be revoked at any time. The most recent examples of this, the PlayStation 3 digital store, and I believe the Wii U digital store has also been nixed now. So any games that you didn't have downloaded on your system at the time that digital store goes away, those games are gone to the ether and you never have them again, right? So digital is very, very convenient when it comes to that. But at least with the gaming side of things, it gets a little muddy, because also like the hard drives on these systems, rather small when you start looking at some of these big games that take up words like Call of Duty. Some of those are like hundreds of gigabytes. I mean, these best case scenario, you have maybe 1, maybe 2 terabytes of storage if you add it onto it, right? So at least with movies and music, those are probably going to be there until you're probably going to pass away. But with games, because the innovation happens a lot more frequently, those it's going to get tricky.
Are
It's
you
going to
putting
get
this?
tricky.
When is this coming out? Is this coming out Monday?
What's that?
Is this coming out Monday? This podcast?
I'm probably going to put it out today. We're recording on a Sunday for you guys.
All right. Well, then, ladies and gentlemen, you still have time. Your Cyber Monday is coming tomorrow.
Yes.
This is the best time to get hard drive space, terabyte. You want memory card space? Get it tomorrow. Anyway, go ahead.
I actually have a video on the channel here of how to upgrade your PS5 storage, so check that out.
There you go. Best time for storage is tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, like for the system itself, it's to kind of build on that a little bit too, because a while ago, I believe it was at least a couple of years ago, Nintendo did tell their developers to get their games ready for 4K. And I thought that was really, really interesting, because especially with the OLED version of the Nintendo Switch, which is hard, you can actually connect the dock with an Ethernet cord. So there's actually a motherboard in the dock itself, which can theoretically be upgraded. Now, it's like I said, because Nintendo doesn't follow what the rest of the industry does. And when it comes to doing their games in 4K, I don't know if they're going to do it or not. I don't know if they're going to pull the trigger on that.
Oh, I think that's going to happen. I think that's easily. It's just the next like 4K. I think is going to be around for a little bit now. I don't think everyone's talking about 8K and all this. I mean, there's really barely any difference. So we're not. Hold on. No. Let me finish my point. So we're not rushing into 8K yet. Okay. So
I want to talk about 8K.
I think that Nintendo Switch or the next iteration is definitely going to be 4K, because it's going to need to be able to be powerful enough for those bigger titles that the other industries and companies want to bring to their console to make money off of. So from a business standpoint, it only makes sense. What I want to ask you though is you had mentioned what can Nintendo do to be wacky or something different. I was thinking about it, what's really big right now in gaming from what I've seen are controllers, right? A lot of people like to buy these controllers. They're custom made from Xbox and PS5, do all these different colors, and you get branding.
Yeah.
I could see Nintendo going somewhere with their Joy-Cons where, and this might sound crazy, but sending you some sort of mold and letting you mold the controllers to your exact specific hand, measurements, send it back to Nintendo, and then they send you custom-made Joy-Cons. That way they fit your exact Nintendo Switch. I could see them doing something wacky like that to make it more personalized, right? And then you don't have to worry about like, well, I don't like this feeling, or I don't like how this controller feels, or this doesn't feel right to me, and I don't. There's no complaints. Go get your own customized controller, right? And everybody likes controllers. So that was my only thought. But yeah, if you want to go ahead and jump into 8K, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, because it's interesting. As somebody who works in the electronics business, because it comes up quite often. Hey, when are you guys going to get those 8K TVs? We will at some point, but to put things into perspective for you, real life is 4K resolution. So we literally cannot go. We can smooth the frame rate out a little bit, but resolution wise, we've hit the cap on what we can get at, because like even on the device that I'm working on, I'm on an M1 iMac. You may be on something similar. Our phones and that kind of stuff. The screens are at such a high resolution that when you look at them from like a normal distance away, not like your face pressed right up against the screen or anything, you can't discern the individual pixels. We're already at with 4K and that stuff. We're high enough.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I was saying. Like, from a human standpoint, eyes, our body, physical makeup, we've already hit our cap of like resolution, in my opinion,
Right.
on television. And the only next step is VR. Right. I mean, that's where people
Has
are.
its share of issues. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Right.
next whatever like transition of technology. If it's graphically going to get better, is it's going to be VR, not making your TV 8K or 16K.
Where I think the real innovation could happen would be with augmented reality or like a mixed reality. Because with the virtual reality, I deal with this on a daily basis too, so it's a cool topic to talk about. Because there's still the issue. There's a term in virtual reality, it's called cognitive dissonance.
Yep.
And essentially, what that means is that a lot of people cannot do virtual reality because it gives you motion sickness. So essentially, what happens, because you're not moving when something with too high of a frame rate is coming at you too close to your face, your brain can get confused and blah. You're blowing chunks.
I've dealt with that personally. I've told this story
Right?
probably a dozen times now, but I used to work for a company called Volt, and they were their contract with Microsoft up in Redmond, and I worked testing the Oculus One a couple days, and one girl we were just doing basic stuff like you were in a jetpack and you're just flying up and then landing, and this girl threw up because like it made her motion sickness because it was too much for her. I thought it was pretty cool. But I was like,
but where I think that and the new tech and stuff like that, all cool. I'm all for new kind of stuff coming out like that. But I think that still at the end of the day, dude, it's all about the games. The games have got to be good.
Well, if they go into physical, they go physicalness, as we're talking about this next generation. That's it for me. What do you think the new console is going to be, Joe? What do you think Nintendo Switch's next console is going to be? Nintendo's console.
It's going to be an all digital console.
Wow, you think they're getting ready to physical?
Yeah. So one reason why
I would disagree with that, but go ahead.
Yeah, I not like I think across the industry we're going to go that direction. We're on the verge of it.
Well, I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I just don't think it's going to. I don't think Nintendo's next console is going to be. I think they're the following one.
Yeah.
I think PS6, Xbox 720, 55, whatever they call that.
Yeah.
And then the Nintendo, whatever that is. I think that next generation will be all digital. Yeah. But I think this next Nintendo Switch is going to still be physical.
Yeah, there's a potential, but I think that's
if it is, then I'm done.
Because there's a couple of reasons, but one of the big reasons for Nintendo is cutting on costs, because the actual cartridges, which is essentially it's like flash memory, it's the same thing that's in phones and tablets and that kind of stuff. It's costly for them to make those. I think that they kind of break even on the cost of that. So I think that not only is a cost saving measure, I mean, the rest of the entertainment industry is going towards digital, right? There's some there's still some people that like to do it old school. A really good recent example, Christopher Nolan. He really likes to focus on, people still
Physical.
going to the movie theater and that kind of stuff.
Buying the
That's why
Blu-ray, DVDs.
they held back Oppenheimer for so long on streaming services, because he wants people to experience the movies the way that he wants you to experience it. Which cool, I'm all for that as well. Going watching on a movie on a big IMAX screen, incredible. I don't want that to go away. But I mean, the majority of that entertainment industry is going towards digital. It's an inevitability at this point.
Well, I'm just saying that I'm not buying any more new video games this time, I guess.
Hey, dude, fair enough.
PlayStation 5 will be my
Right.
last one,
Yep.
and that's it, I guess.
Yeah,
I mean, if
but
that's what we're doing.
I foresee something very similar to the Nintendo Switch. I don't think the form factor is going to change all that much. The dock might be a little bit different. I think that they will update that in a way to where when you're attached to the TV, you're going to bump up to 4K, which I mean, and especially then if they support the back category catalog of games like Odyssey, like 3D World, those Luigi's Mansion 3, those on 4K. Ooh, like the idea that just intrigues the hell out of me, because those games are already beautiful in handheld and in 1080p. Because handheld, you're at 720, and then dock to the TV, you're
Buying a
1080p.
Steam Deck and I'm emulating everything. You're not getting any of my fucking money if we go all digital.
Steam Deck, oh yeah,
Excuse me.
that's a separate topic in itself. But yeah, I mean, especially if they can support the back catalog of games, then you have something that can be really successful. Especially, I think if they can get 4K on the TV at home.
Making me angry here. You're making me angry here, Joe. It's not happening, in my opinion. I think we got one more generation.
It's possible. Like I said,
and I think it's going to be backwards compatible too. I think they're going to let it be backwards compatible.
I hope so.
With the Switch as well.
Yeah, because
and then I think that'll be their swan song to physical. And then I think the very next one, because at that point, Xbox will be all digital, Sony will be all digital. So like Nintendo can be like, well, this is where the industry's going.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Like I said, I just hope that, regardless of what the system is, that the games are good. Because, like, especially with Nintendo, dude, like going back to when we were kids, right? I'm talking like original Super Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, and that kind of stuff. I want there to be really memorable games that come out of it. Because, I mean, the technology, it can be sweet and all that, but if the games aren't good, then you'll just end up in the graveyard of technology with the rest of the shit consoles that have come out over the years. So the system can be whatever it is, just the games have got to be really good. Metro Prime 4, that's got to come out soon. There's some really good stuff that they're kind of sitting on as well that they could put out. They need to remaster Zelda Wind Waker, which they've been really bullish and not bringing that to people because people want it so bad. Bring those kind of games to people, and damn, these systems will sell even better than they already are.
Yeah, should be good. Yeah. Hopefully we'll see what happens.
It'll be interesting to see. Like I said, and if nothing, not too, it creates conversation, I guess, which is only good, right? So yeah, because like it goes back to the days of like Super Nintendo versus Genesis. We used to have like fist fights in the schoolyard over which console was better, and it even ties into South Park, right? That those 3 episodes leading up to the Stick of Truth coming out, with the kids fighting back and forth over PlayStation and Xbox. I still remember that very fondly. I still go back and watch those episodes. They're fun as hell to watch. Yeah, so I'm like I said, I'm really curious to see what happens. Like I said, as long as the games are good, then everybody's a winner.
Yeah, well, except for the people who don't want to buy digital games, those people are not winners. Because I know there are more people like myself who are in that same situation, and I know people think that we're living in the age of crazy fast internet digital technology, and we are for some of us, but there are still parts of my country, the United States specifically, the Midwest, where they still are barely just getting Ethernet.
Fair point.
There are still second and third world countries around the world who do not have access to the internet. So, and I'm not saying those people are thinking I got to get a Nintendo Switch or I got to get a console, but you're taking away that ability for that person to potentially go get a console and play that video game for you and purchase said product from you, because you're removing. Now, I like what Sony's next console, or I guess they're the PS5 Pro they're getting ready to put out. Mm-hmm. I like that option where here's the digital, but if you want physical, it's going to be an extra $100. If they want to go that way, I'd be okay with it. And then if they want to say, look, if you want the physical version, go on our website and buy it from us and we'll ship it to you. Cool. I'll pay the extra $20, $30 to get it printed. So if you give me those options, then maybe you can keep me around. But if you completely just go digital and there's no way for me to physically have those options anymore, to me, like I said, it's a farce because now I'm not buying your products anymore. I'm buying a console that can play licensed games that you own.
Yeah, it's a tough transition. You brought up a really good point there. Even
with the computer, right? People want to make, computers have been digital this whole time. Well, that's true, but when computers first started, you still got a disc, downloaded it, and still tied to a CD key. So it was still tied to something that you physically owned. I don't know if that's still happening with Steam and all that because I'm not into the computer section of games.
No, unfortunately not. No.
Well, see, that's bullcrap.
Steam is all digital.
At least Steam lets you keep your library, right? Because they don't go down.
True. Yeah, that's true. You brought up a really good point there that I want to touch on, and I think we'll kind of end off on this because there are still a lot of areas here in Canada, especially. I mean, there's a lot more rural areas here in Canada than there is down there. Places where they barely get a cell phone signal, let alone a home internet signal. So, it's a tough thing, and I do like that approach of giving people the option if they want. I think that you actually hit on something there that's really good. I think that this upcoming generation is that you still give people the option. Like so right now with their slim PS5 are doing something really cool where the disk drive is detachable.
Yeah.
So not only is it modular, which is good for repairing purposes, so you have that flexibility to have that console how you want. And I think that that's a good thing because, like I said, there's still a lot of people that don't really have an internet connection. So
yeah, I mean, if you give me the consumer the option to say, look, you can get the cheaper version if you don't want physical, or if you want physical, here it's going to be an extra $100 or whatever.
Just got to pony up a little bit more. Yeah.
And I'm just going to be like, yeah, sure, I'll pay that $100. That's fine.
Yeah.
And then you got to give me options on how do I get this game. Do I have to contact you directly, or do I need to contact a publisher to purchase from? I don't care. Just tell me where I need to go put my PayPal or credit card information in, and I'll buy it and then send it to me. That's fine.
Yeah. No, I agree. All right, man. Before we head off here, tell us what you have got going on with the South Park, the SMB South Park review. What episode do you guys have coming up?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, of course. My name is Matt Shaffer, host of SMB, South Park Review, linktr.ee/South Park Pod. So the very last episode that we just dropped, which is available right now on all podcast outlets, is SMB number 202. It is You Have Zero Friends. So what happens when Facebook hits the town of South Park and takes over? And this, of course, came back out in 2010, this episode. So, it's a fun one. And then coming up following that will, as far as the next episode that comes after, is 200. So we're getting into the banned episode sections of the South Parks of our season. So these next two episodes that we review, unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to put up on YouTube just because they're banned. And like anytime I've tried to put up a banned episode review on YouTube, it gets immediately blocked and I can't dispute it to get it back up.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So, but there is ways to watch it if you have the DVD South Park season 14, or I believe you can, it's archived somewhere, like on one of the archive.org websites, you can actually find both banned episodes. Not to say they're not available in certain places where they have the Kyle's final speech censored from 201. But you can find the uncensored version as well. So that's coming up here. Yeah, so we got over 200 episodes available on all podcast outlets. If you're a big South Park fan, check it out. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Matthew_Shaffer, MATHEW_Shaffer.
Awesome. The next time there's a Canada-related episode, I obviously got to come back on.
Yeah, as is tradition.
That was a good way to end off the episode here. All right, man. Thanks again for being on. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
I love you, Jargo.
HTM Tech is brought to you by Microplay. Located at 265 King George Road in Brantford, Ontario, Canada, for all of your video game and collectible needs.